Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. Our guest of today is Dan. He's the co-founder of Calyptus. Dan, why don't you tell a little bit more about yourself and what the company is doing?
Of course. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I started in venture capital. I was in the industry for about 5 years, investing into deep tech companies, the likes of AI, blockchain, robotics. I guess I was always entrepreneurial. At university, I was, managing a club night, that classic kind of trajectory out of the best thing you could probably do at uni in terms of being an entrepreneur somewhere, shape or form. And after just speaking to so many entrepreneurs through my VC years, I got to the point where I just wanted to actually build something real, something very much for myself. And yeah, I guess I spoke to my friend that I knew from uni, Alan, and he had just been in HR tech for the last 5 years in sales. I had, of course, been in finance and started investing. And we built Calyptus. And I guess the company today is an automated hiring platform for sourcing AI skilled talent. So we have a AI recruiter, and our candidates speak to her. Her name's Alex. They come into the platform, talk about your experience, your skills, your proficiency, your impact. We score everything, and then we provide this talent to employers to get a much better experience than you would otherwise get from LinkedIn Recruiter.
Amazing. And what did you guys inspire to start Calyptus?
The genesis of Calyptus actually was, we started off as a blockchain employment and learning platform. Because myself and Callum, that was one of our key industries we're both passionate about. And we saw that about 18,000 developers sustaining like a 3 trillion crypto market. And so we started there, and we quickly realized that we had to lean hard into the employment side and less on the learning side, because it's hard to make money in education versus typical recruitment. And at first we had a few hundred users, and then we realized we had to focus on senior engineers. And that's really what got us thousands, tens of thousands of users. And of course, our first top tier employers like Aave, Optimism, Chainlink, now Circle. But what we realized is that after 3 years of doing this, and getting every single week 10,000 applications through LinkedIn, like this is completely unsustainable. Every person gets maybe 5 or 7 seconds of a biased view from a human to be like, oh, yeah, maybe they're good or bad, you don't really know. And so we thought, how can we actually automate this whole process that is extremely biased and full of errors and time consuming? And also, how can we expand our market? We've become very good at high performance talent and placing these people into Web3, but how can we place today's high performance talent, people who are highly proficient in AI automation tools, into all other industries? We evolved out of Web3, we moved into AI, and actually have superpowered our screening processes with AI.
You're telling a lot. I think there's a ton of value in there, right? And if you look at Calyptus in a really concise way, what is the biggest benefit for a company to look into Calyptus, to actually use it to hire people from there? The biggest benefit?
The biggest benefit of Calyptus is finally the capability to see people's AI fluency. You can't get that with any other platform today, because the problem is that it's JavaScript tests, it's Python tests, it's C# tests. Okay, how about you show me that you're good at using Zapier, at automating a work, or show me how good you are at using NA10. Tell us about the impact you've driven with NA10. Go deeper about these tools. Or all these things that, one, HR leaders aren't very familiar with, but two, they don't actually have the tools to vet for these proficiencies. And so we have an AI recruiter which is very trained on AI proficiency and understanding what good looks like and the impact that should be created using AI and automation tools. But further than that, in the next month, we're launching our AI assessor, which can assess any AI automation tool in the world. You share your screen, you build whatever task has been asked by the employer, you stop sharing, you get scored on diagnostic score, how deeply you went about understanding the problem before building the solution score, so how well you built the solution to the problem, and your communication score, how well you communicated on that. We're building for the first time something that didn't exist around how to prove someone's AI fluency very quickly.
Amazing. So it's actually much more reliable. Once you get someone in for maybe 100%, maybe close to that is going to be the right fit. And then on the other side, what's the biggest benefit for companies? What's the biggest risk if you actually got the AR manager and she doesn't have really the tools to really screen the person, but she still hires them and the person is working in the company? What's the biggest risk towards actually someone being in a company and not being super qualified if they find out during when he's already like hired?
I think the biggest risk is like evolution. If your competitors have hired just one person in their team who is highly AI and automation proficient and teaching the rest of their team how to use these tools, well, suddenly they're being 66% more productive than you are. So just hiring one person can make all the difference, as to which creates a certain level of virality in terms of how agile you are as a company, how fast you move as a team, because you're learning tools that are literally built to do that, to make you more productive. Yeah, I hate the FOMO around saying like, oh, AI is coming, and but if you want to be more profitable and you want to be more productive and lower your costs, but while increasing your revenue, it's truly possible. And that's what you can gain from this, and not get overtaken by your competitors.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because especially with things which are moving so fast, and for sure, like doing things out of FOMO and not making good decisions based on that is never a good thing, right? But making informed decisions based on where we are in the market, I think that's a very smart thing to do. And then talking about AI, right? And the technology on like which everything is going on right now. Like, of course, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? Every week there's something new coming out. Like, where do you see like AI and technology going in towards the next 2 to 3 years?
It looks like whether it's Elon Musk or Sam Altman who are discussing what's happening over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to get to the point where we have AI which is smarter than any single human in any single field or profession, and it's generalized. So things are moving very fast, but that's where things are leading to. So it's having not just an assistant, but a professional assistant with every single employee that works in your company by your side. So just like people are good at being managers, the next skill is going to be how good are you being a manager at speaking to your co-pilot? How good are you at organizing and strategizing? How good are you at being creative, and be able to then communicate and verbalize what needs to be done in a smart way. So the idea of work is going to change a lot, where everyone's got their own professional in their pocket, and it's going to come down to a lot to how good you are at prompt engineering and communicating your vision.
Amazing. And you said since you were like already on the university, you were already had this entrepreneurial mindset, right? Like what did you say? Like you had your own nightclub or something like that? You mentioned in the beginning. And what are the biggest, because you've been in this business for like, I think quite a bit of years now. What do you say? Like people who are watching, we're all entrepreneurs, right? What are some of the biggest traits which you think is making an entrepreneur successful? One of the biggest like
Mindset things. What I've learned to realize is when there are two different brains, there's an optimist and a pessimist. And if you hear a problem, you think that's really bad, that's terrible. But whenever I hear a problem now, I instantly think, wow, that's a huge opportunity. Like if we see a problem and no one else is solving it in our industry, I don't get scared of that thing. I get extremely excited, because suddenly we have an opportunity here to build something that could be hugely revolutionary or innovative. So I guess it's seeing problems as opportunities and knowing which ones to go after.
Wow, I really love that. So it's more based on the perspective how you see things. Like because at the moment you start being pessimistic or you start to see stuff in a certain like way which is not optimal, you don't see the opportunity. And once you don't see the opportunity, you can never really step into that to take advantage of the opportunity which is there in the market, right?
I think a lot of people will see like, oh no, well, no one's doing that, therefore we don't have a benchmark as to like whether it's right or wrong, or how to price it or whatever. It's like, but actually you could be the leaders of pricing it. You can be the leaders of this feature being groundbreaking. There's the undiscovered, and finding a lot of just enjoyment in that, I think is a key thing.
And that's maybe one of the most important things, enjoyment. Because once there's no enjoyment in the process, you don't have like a lot of creativity in your brain to really see the opportunities. Because there's no passion behind what you're doing, right?
For the last 4 years, there hasn't been a single Sunday night where I've had the Monday blues and thought, fuck's sake, I can't believe I've got to go to work tomorrow. I get stressed for sure. I can be anxious, but I've never not looked forward to building what we're building, even when it's hard. And I think I've never had a child, but the closest thing to it for me at this age right now is like looking after a child. You care about it a lot. And, whether it's a Monday or a Sunday or whatever day it is of the week, you're going to try and look after it and make it better and improve as a person over time yourself. And, it's the saying is ikigai, I think in Japanese, which is the combination of your work, your life, everything coming together. And for me, this is my version of ikigai.
I love that. Sometimes, like, I do a lot of stuff on ChatGPT. I talk a lot about stuff. Sometimes it can be a funny thing for the watchers to just type into ChatGPT, what is my ikigai? And based on everything you type into ChatGPT, it's probably going to give a pretty concise answer. I actually did that. It was pretty amazing. And I think like you having this mindset that this is really your baby, and you really never had a Monday where you felt like, hey, I don't really feel like I'm going to work right now. This also really helps you to be in this optimistic mindset where you really see the opportunities, right?
Big time. I mean, we're in I'd say a really good place right now as a company. But at the beginning of the year, I couldn't say the same. It's like it was having to fire people, we had to reduce our team by 25%. We had to really make sure that we weren't going to run out of money, all these different things. But even through that, I always felt that we're going to make it through, and we always will. And you know, you end up doubling down. And I think having that urge to know that you just got to keep on pushing through regardless, and it's going to work out, and having that optimism and knowing that you're going to solve the problems that you need to solve and work it out. Yeah, those Mondays aren't even bad on those weeks.
Amazing, man. And then talking about the challenges with Calyptus, what are some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced towards really growing the business?
I mean, we're on to Calyptus version 3, which means that Calyptus version 1 and 2, they weren't the right solution. Calyptus 1 was, we built that in 2022 into 2023, and it was built on WordPress. It was, now I think about it, highly embarrassing as a platform, barely sustained the number of users that were like joining, and it was just so static and yeah, barely used. Calyptus version 2 comes around, and actually this time we're trying to build something extremely sexy for VCs. Now what happens then? We go the opposite way. We over-engineer our product. We're building in on-chain credentials. We're building in AI-powered this when AI-powered, but not really. We are gamifying it, so people are gamified like Duolingo to do assessments on the platform. We were even going to launch a token, and it was just OTT. We hired 20 people, all because we wanted to raise money from VCs. And we got this close. The terms were and it was a lot of money. The terms was to, launch a token, and we didn't want to do it. The VC in the end was just like, actually, I'm not too sure about the token economics. And then that period, we had to then just think, wow, we're going to have to like cut back our team here. We haven't got the funding we wanted. We've got a platform that we built actually completely for the wrong reasons in the end, for VCs to be impressed so we get money to then build the product we wanted. So Calyptus version 3 was the amalgamation of all of our learnings. We wrote down 20 tenets of version 2 as to what we're never, ever, ever going to do again and what we know we need to do now. And we always look back to it every single month and say, are we abiding by these? And that's what's given us the clarity as to, wow, this is actually now working, because the tail's not wagging the dog. We're not thinking about the VC. We're talking to at least 10 users every single week. We're getting all of their feedback every single week. We're keeping it very, very simple. We are building AI where it actually is being useful and actually being used. And we're not trying to think about flashy features that don't actually matter. So as much as there have been failures, I guess, for V1 and V2, they are all part of the journey as to get us where we needed to be today.
Amazing. Usually, sometimes we can be afraid of it, but once you take action, you're open for a learning curve. That's why you discover, I'm going left right now, but only you will find that is not the right path after you go left, right? So only after taking the action, you will find out like, hey, this maybe we need to optimize a little bit here.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, it really is searching in the dark. You are searching in the dark. And so you only learn from these things. And like I said, none of them have been failures, because I'm so glad that it's got us to our own. I wouldn't say we're completely as wisdomous as other founders who have been through this, but I'd say we are a lot wiser, and I appreciate that. I'm very grateful for that.
Amazing, man. So there are no failures, but only lessons, right? The only failure is if you actually quit on what's most important for you. And what are some of the ways you guys are using to actually grow Calyptus and acquire new customers?
Yeah, so we are using a combination of like email marketing, typical marketing through the likes of LinkedIn, Twitter, so ads. What's really working at the moment is running IRL events. I'll set up a panel here in London. We'll have someone who teaches the audience who are typically HR or talent acquisition people, how to build a certain AI tools. Those channels that are in person have become really quite powerful. But yeah, we're just unlocking a secret weapon, which is really high volume email marketing, which I'm very excited about.
Amazing, man. And looking back at your journey, right, since starting Calyptus, and with all the not failures, but with lessons you have learned, what is one thing you would do differently if you would be in the shoes from where if you would start Calyptus and you would be in that shoes with all the knowledge you're having right now?
What would be the knowledge I would feed back? I think, I mean, it has to be purely around only only build only build the features that truly matter. And until those features actually work, your core proposition that you have, it actually works, do you ever think about everything else around it? If you are building a marketplace, is your algorithm in the middle actually working? Does it actually pair people up well? Is the quality of talent, is the quality of the product, is it actually good? If those are the two key things that make your platform tick and are special, don't think about anything else until those things are solved, because everything else doesn't matter. So I would just focus on that. And I know I mentioned that like we're building very high volume go to market channels, but it's very different as for employers, it's very different on the candidate side. On the candidate side, I've learned that, when we're building Calyptus 2, we managed to figure out how to get over 4,000 new users signing up every single week. That doesn't mean that the platform was working to its best ability, and it doesn't mean that we were doing any better than we are today. And in fact, we're bringing in about 1,000 people a week now, but they are, 10, maybe more times high quality than they ever were before, because we've just focused on quality. Because what's the point of inviting talent that isn't actually matching to what we need for what the employers need? So just focusing on quality, focusing on the core proposition only, and then thinking about the extra features once those things are cracked. Yeah, I would definitely have told myself that.
I love what you're saying. So kind of like really focus on what works and doubling down on what works, and only look further if you've done what works, you implemented it really well into your business, right? So not like do something, then finish it, then go on to the next thing, because then you never really build like a solid foundation of something which is working.
Yeah, exactly. And what's the point of adding bells and whistles to something that you've got? You've got something that isn't right. So make sure the foundations are all healthy, they're in place, they work really well, and that's your stepping stone to build up on top of.
Very nice. And have you ever watched Harry Potter? Probably you did. Imagine like Harry Potter and you had like a magic wand in your hand, right? And with this magic wand, you could solve any problem in your business right now with the snap of a fingertip with this magic wand. What problem would it be if you could fix any issue which is possibly there?
It's difficult to say because we're on track for fixing a lot of them. There is one thing, actually. We're like fully appreciative of human to human contact is like fundamental in life. And people, when it comes to recruitment, speaking to a human so often is just all people ever want. And that's probably the ideal situation. But we've got to this point now where people just use AI tools or one-click applications all over LinkedIn that you can apply to 100 jobs in a day in about half an hour. And suddenly HR and talent people are basically under piles and piles of applications that it's mind-boggling to think how little time you can actually apply to each. So we've got to this point now where technology is so easy to apply to jobs that you can't always apply the human touch anymore, because for employer, they haven't got the time. And so I think right now what we have built is that we're able to really alleviate the load and help employers have that AI interviewer take the first screening to understand someone's communication skills that you can never do on LinkedIn, for example. But what we haven't implemented yet is, okay, say a really, really good candidate tells us they don't want to take the AI recruiter interview, because some of them really do say that. It's having the ability for us to then just jump on a human to human call and go, let's do it. But then we're still able to record the call, transcribe the call, and score the whole call, but with a human, and have it on our platform too. So we need to solve that problem, because then we will always be able to offer the human touch where it's necessary, and we're still able to score and have great quality candidates that do that on our platform regardless, if they choose an AI recruiter or a human route.
Then if you're looking towards maybe in this regard, like some goals you're having for Calyptus in the next 6 to 12 months, which you are working towards, what are some of those goals?
Okay, so I want to I want to 4x our revenue in the next year, and I want to do that because my wife is in jewelry and she runs her own business, and she started a year before me, which means but she is way more successful than I am. So she is actually my pacemaker. So I want to make sure that I can 4x my revenue by next year. She makes these rings. So X revenue for personal reasons. If we can achieve that, that's the very punchy goal. But based on our trajectory in the last quarter, we're on track for that, I'd say.
Sounds amazing, man. And I think you share a ton of value with our public. Do you have any advice you could share based on all the lessons you've learned, like anything you want to give to the public, of the podcast?
It's been really interesting running some of these talks recently in person with people, because you find a lot of founders who want to build something themselves and they haven't made the jump yet. And I think for founders, it's very nerve-wracking leaving your job. I remember how nerve-wracking it was for me. And I got insane burnout because I was trying to focus on the idea while doing the job. And I just had to just stop working and commit. I just do it. So I think if you've got an idea, really map it out. And if financial issues are the problem, because it's very expensive to sustain yourself in London, for example, speak to your family and friends, see if they'll give you just a little bit of funding to help, get your company off the ground and sustain you for a few months, or try and get an angel investor. But once you've got that idea and you've got a little bit of a cushion, go for it. And because you'll never look back. I think a level of my own personal identity was unlocked when I realized that I needed to become a founder. At first I didn't know it, but I knew it was the right path. So I think just for them to follow their heart and you can do it in a sensible way. Just try and get some funding, back your idea and go for it, because you never know when you can do it again.
I love so much what you're saying. And also, once you're doing something, I think you really resonate with it as well. As you were talking, it's my own baby. And I never had a Monday where I felt like I don't really want to do it. And it might really be challenging, but I'm so passionate about what I'm doing that it doesn't really matter how challenging it gets, right? I think that's also part of you actually taking full responsibility for your life and really do something you're extremely passionate about. And that's starting up your business is going to be really scary, but once you step into that path, it's going to open so much more possibilities for yourself, because you're doing something which you feel you resonate most with, right? And that's super important.
Yeah, definitely. I'd encourage anyone to give it a go. If it's niggling at them, then it's probably a sign that you're wanting to make the jump and dig deep and find the courage and have the structure that you can put in place to do so. And I don't think you'll look back.
Amazing. And if people are like seeing you on the podcast and they're thinking like, wow, this sounds really interesting, I want to connect with you more. Like, how can they do so?
Find me on LinkedIn, Dan Jones at Calyptus, or Dan_Calyptus on Twitter. I post a little bit less there, but yeah, and also come to our events. We do them. If you're in London, come by, food, drink. We can train you a little bit. We can have a chat. Yeah, come by every month or two that we have an event in London.
What's the date of your next event?
The 15th of October. It's Future-Proof HR, and it's all about how to balance AI automation and the human touch.
Amazing. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Dan, thanks for being here, sharing all your value. I make sure to put all the links of the description, how they can find you down below. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and see you in the next episode.
Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it.